Hello, JawnCon. I don't think I'm actually going to use this. All right, so quick question. Do I sound better with the mic or without the mic? With? All right. I have to probably lower the voice a little bit. All right, yeah, because I tend to project. Anyway, hello, JawnCon. How's everybody out there today? All right, so real quick, shout out to the previous panel because that was a really awesome talk. All right, so the next talk is going to be one I know a few people were probably waiting for. This one was one that I gave back in April in my local DEF CON group, and it was pretty fun over there too. So this is a tour of North Korea through Red Star OS, and this is gonna just be like a really wild ride, so get ready everyone. So we're gonna start off with saying what is Red Star OS? And Red Star OS is a Linux distro that was developed by Korean Computer Center. It's a North Korean IT research center in Pyongyang. And the initial release of this was done in 2008. It was very decidedly very Windows looking at that time. I don't have any screenshots of that version, but it was kind of like a Windows 7 looking UI if you look at it. There was a version 2 in 2009 which further solidified the Windows look because this was also a time where North Korea was trying to get rid of Western developed operating systems as it were, i.e. Windows. And they wanted to have something that was homegrown, that they can claim was their own, you know, the motherland's perfect operating system as it were, and they based it off of Fedora and Red Hat Linux. So version 1, like I said, was 2008, version 2 was 2009, and the one that we're talking about today is version 3, which was released in 2013. Version 3 is based roughly around Fedora 11, and I've tried a couple of their packages. I potentially can use some of their packages, but it's got to be packages that don't really have any kind of dependencies whatsoever. Like if you use something that's like very null, like nano or whatever, it will install. It'll install just fine. There was a version 4.0 that was released sometime in 2019, but there are no copies of this version floating around on the internet, at least not to my knowledge. South Korean newspaper did get a hold of a copy of it and ran an article on it. And there is a link to that article. If you look through Red Star OS's page on Wikipedia, it's referred to under its version number, so you can see the link to it. But of course, it's in Korean. I don't read Korean, so I really don't know what it's all about. Anyway, so who am I? Who is LambdaCalculus? Who is this weirdo that's standing up here at JawnCon giving this talk? And what's he all about? So, I am a Linux sysadmin. I've been using Linux since I was 14 years old, 15 years old. My first version was Slackware back in 1994. You know, and first thing I did was I learned how to install it over the course of a summer vacation from school. It took me about 2 weeks to install it, but it was well worth it because I got a lot of knowledge out of it. And I've used Linux on and off since then. And I'm a full-time user nowadays. You know, if it isn't Linux on my machine, I'm probably not going to use it, but if it's OpenBSD, I'll definitely use it. I'm also a network engineer. I occasionally do some code. I've contributed to a few open source projects over the years. I do some security knowledge, and I do silly things on the interweb too. I do lots of weird cursed things with software and hardware. Big on retro tech, big on Unix systems, and putting Doom on everything, of course. And I also believe, as a filthy seafaring pirate, that information should be free and to keep circulating the tapes. Apparently been told I make pretty good food, so I got that going for me. And I also am a big supporter of communities and community outreach and doing things for programs for like maker spaces, volunteering at cons, doing things to try to help out the community and give back for all the stuff they've given me. I'm also looking for work. If anybody needs an old Linux sysadmin with some Solaris knowledge and some other esoteric knowledge, come see me. So before I begin the talk in earnest, I'm going to just say really quickly that the Chaos Computer Club did a talk about Red Star OS back in about 2014, 2015, and you can find that online. It's an excellent talk. It goes into like a really deep down knowledge, and I gleaned some of the knowledge that they shared in that talk, and I'm sharing that here today. So Thank you, Chaos Computer Club, for walking so that we could run today. And if I sound like I'm repeating stuff from Chaos Computer Club, it's only because they were the best source of information, and who else am I going to really turn to right now? They're like the best ones. I've never been to North Korea, and I have absolutely no plans on going to North Korea. A lot of the live interaction that I've also done with this has been through VMs and bare metal, and you're going to see that today. I also went through a few other blogs and collected some information here and there, and that's some of the information I also gleaned into this talk as well. And don't worry, Kim Jong-un is not going to burst through those doors and start getting all angry with us. He's thousands of miles away, safely tucked away in, wherever he is in Pyongyang. He's probably racing the streets of Pyongyang right now. So, a few features about Red Star OS that I like to show off. You can see a screenshot of it here. It's using KDE 3.x. I don't know the exact version number, but it's definitely a KDE 3 version with a heavily customized Mac OS-like skin, as you can see. Down to like a lot of the behavior of the menus and everything are even Mac OS-like. Like they went all out to make sure like this plays as much as Mac OS as possible, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. Some of the default software that comes in and install is a fork of Firefox called Naenata, which is Korean for my country. It's Mozilla 3.6 with a Korean language pack installed by default. And you can disable the language pack and put it back into English. I did that already. It also has a couple of interesting little features that we're going to look at as well later on. There's also an old version of OpenOffice around like 3.x called Sagwang Office. It functions the same thing as OpenOffice. It opens open document files, opens Microsoft Word docs just at like the same level as OpenOffice did back then. There is a version of Ganache that's installed by default for Flash applications, but Ganache doesn't work for much of anything. There is a Wine122 package called Crosswin that's installed as well. It's just basic old Wine, just runs your Windows applications and whatever level of compatibility you had back then. Root is not available by default, but there is a tool called root setting that lets users set the root password to use the root account. Once you do that, then you can do all the tools you need to do, like sudo and everything else will work. There's also a cryptography tool called Bolkem, which means sword. I haven't really played with the cryptography tool way too much, but some of the information I found from Chaos Computer Club and some blogs said a lot of the algorithms that they're using, they did a DES-like algorithm that they used for a few portions of some of the secret stuff that they inserted into this. There is a software manager tool which basically allows you to install RPMs from the GUI, and it's a fast way of installing certain RPMs that I needed for this as well. There's a music composer in there called Music Score. It looks like a reskin of something else. I haven't really seen what it is too much. There is an IDE called Campanero, which is just Eclipse with a skin on it, but all the features, all the functions of Eclipse are all in there. Everything works just as it should. They have a movie player in there as well, but it doesn't look like anything it's not VLC and it's not like anything else. It might be like MPlayer with a GUI over it. I have not really dug into it. By default, it has kernel 2.6.38.8-24 with some custom modules installed, and also by default, it uses bash 3.1.7. So all the vulnerabilities, whatever CVEs were of that time and that era, they're all in here. There are a few other interesting packages on the DVD repository, and the one other thing about Red Star and its repository is that the only packages available for it are what's ever on the DVD. You can't, there are no online repositories to get any other software or anything like that. It's what's on the disk is all you get. Although, like I said earlier, you can install some unsigned RPMs, and you can install certain Fedora 11 RPMs as long as, like I said, they are not dependent on any other kind of dependencies. Something plain and simple will install, and what is the North Korean government going to do, all right? So I think a few people might be wondering why there is a macOS-like GUI on Red Star OS. Why does it have that? So the reason why was Kim Jong-un was photographed in 2013 with an iMac on his desk. So apparently he was a fan of Mac OS and its GUI, and I guess he had deemed that, you know, the homegrown operating system of North Korea will look just like this one. And yeah, they just laid the Mac OS skin over it and ran with it. So all the same GUI style, all the same behavior, you're going to see like the pull down menus and everything work just as they would on Mac OS. So there are a few dubious features under the hood. And I noticed that it's cut off slightly, but it's all right. There are a few features and a few dubious features that can be used for not nice purchases. There's Snort is installed, but not by default. Like you can install it from the repos, and you know you can do Snort things with it, of course. There's a system file modification detector that can warn about modified files, and the location you can see is in /user/share/autostart/initcheck_kde.desktop. And what it does is that if you try to modify the system in any way, shape, or form, it will freak out and it will get into a boot loop the next time you reboot the system. So you try to do anything to the system, you broke the system, it's going to be boot looping from there on out, and you have to reinstall the whole thing. There are firewall settings by default in Red Star OS to keep network access limited only to the North Korean intranet's IP address block, which you can see. The IP address block runs from 175.45.76.0 to 175.45.179.255. So by default, out of the box, Red Star OS cannot communicate to the greater internet. Likewise, the greater internet cannot communicate into the North Korean intranet. So you only can communicate within the internet, only within that address block, nothing else. But if you flush the firewall rules out, guess what? There's also SE Linux enforcement preventing a modification of the system. These are custom modules that basically work with SE Linux and prevent you from toying with the system. They go hand in hand with the system file modification daemon. Basically, like I said, if you play with any aspect of the system that you shouldn't, it will freak the system out. It gets caught in a boot loop. You have to reinstall. There's a security daemon which does the reboot loop if the system files are modified. So like if I play with it, yeah, like I would have to restart it or reinstall it, and I don't want to do a reinstall. There is also a scan process daemon which claims to be a virus scanner, but it's way, way nastier, because what it does is that it will scan your system for any kind of files that may deem unsavory or unwanted. Video file, picture file, music file of some sort, and it will claim it's got a virus on it and wipe it from the system. However, and I'm going to put a disclaimer on this too, because this is a theoretical, is that it's probably taking the file and copying it to a police server or a government server so that they can trace it and they can see where it's coming from and claim that you're spreading contraband around, which is a big no-no. Going hand in hand with the SCN process is one called OPPRC, which is responsible for the watermarking of certain file types. And I know you're probably saying, wait, watermarking. So every file that passes through Red Star OS is watermarked by the OPPRC daemon. And what it does, it goes by metadata of file types. So it checks for things like document files as in like Word documents, open document text, things like that. It won't affect the plain text file because the watermarking that's done is 31 bytes of DES encrypted data added to the very end of the file. You could probably see on the slide that you can see the green hex numbers are the DES watermark in a file. So this is a video file that I did vbin diff on, and you can see the top file is the untainted file, and the green on the bottom marks a tainted file. So these are the exact same files that one got tainted by being touched by Red Star OS. Vulnerable file types are marked as soon as they pass into the OS. However, if they're on a read-only file system, they will not be affected. It can only be affected by putting it on read-write media because, of course, it has to write the data to the file. If it's read-only like a DVD or a CD, or you set like a disk to read-only mode, they will not be affected and they will not be watermarked. But you can check how a file has been watermarked if you see the MD5 sum does not match the previous one of the file, or looking at a hex editor like vbindiff and doing a comparison, you can see where they go. So, like I said, this happens only with certain data files, not with every single one. So I've experimented with a few, like I did a Word document, I did a PDF, I did a JPEG, I did a video file, and a music file. All of them got watermarked by Red Star. However, certain other file types, like I put a doom.wad, for example, plain text file, certain other files like a .bin file, none of those got watermarked. My guess, like I said, with a plain text file is probably because they don't want it to be way too obvious. It would obviously break the file. But doom.wad is an unknown file, so it's not going to know what to do with it. Also, too, my guess is that because it looks for certain metadata types, the Doom WAD doesn't match any kind of known metadata, it's going to leave it alone, of course. So a little bit more about the OPPRC daemon. It runs in the background and it's not transparent to the user. So you're not going to see this if you try to do like a PS-AX. It won't show up. It won't show up in HTOP. It won't show up in any kind of like, process browser of any sort. You're not going to see it. It's going to be running invisibly in the background. It's going to be hiding itself extremely well. Not even root will see it. You can't kill the process, of course, because the PID is protected by RT scans. So even if you did know the PID, it's just going to come right back. It shares code with SCMPRC, and we're going to come to that in a little bit too. And remember how I said too that files that pass through the operating system get watermarked? Sometimes you don't even have to open the file. If Red Star OS scans the file or scans the media and it's read-write, and it's going to see files that it's going to consider, watermarkable, it will automatically do it. So for safety, my demo machine, the read-write media on here is set to read-only. It's not going to get watermarked unless I copy it into the system itself. So watermarks in files contain information on the computer, namely the serial number of the drive and the computer itself. And this is how they suppress free speech, is because what they're doing is they're tracing files by looking at the serial number on each piece of data, and they can see where contraband has gone to. This is how they try to stamp out SneakerNet in North Korea, by watermarking these files so they can trace them back. So it's like if I had a file and I gave it to one person in the audience, and that person in the audience gave it to the next person, and the next person, and so forth and so on, the North Korean government can trace that file back through that whole line of people all the way to me, and I'm the one who gets arrested along with all of us because we're trading contraband. So the SCN PRC daemon, it looks and acts like a virus scanner, but it's way nastier than that. By default, KDE init starts it scnprc.desktop in /user/share/autostart is where it resides. It triggers automatically, like you don't even have to touch a file. Usually it'll just scan a file and just say like, I don't like it, it's a virus. It also starts, there's a kernel object module file, rtscan.ko, that loads when SCMPRC loads, and they all work in tandem. OPPRC is also started by SCMPRC, and they all work together. The files it targets are always removed from the computer, but what happens afterwards? Are they deleted, or like I said, are they copied to a police server and then deleted from the source? So it's like they physically pull it away from you, they take it onto a police server and they're scanning it and saying like contraband, contraband, bad, 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 whatever they want to say. Like, it's really awful. So after all of that, it's time to demo what this looks like. So let's switch over. All right, ready to switch? All right, did everybody see it? Yes. All right. So you can see I set this so far to English so that we can read it a little bit easier. I already have root set up on this, and I already have a few tools set up on this. So real quick, this is not running bash 317 currently, it's running bash 4418, and I did a few little upgrades. But yeah, this is a bare metal machine running Red Star OS. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to do the Red Star tools. And I'm going to show you this really quickly. So the Red Star tools are a set of scripts and tools written by Chaos Computer Club that can basically defang Red Star OS. And what it does is that it will forcibly remove those 2 nasty demons I talked about and do a few other little changes under the hood so that they will not come back. And also to prevent the system from going into a boot loop because I did some really crazy modifications to it. But before we do that, I'm going to show off the watermarking so you can see exactly what's going on with this. So I'm going to go into my media folder. Okay. So I think this is the right one. Okay, so let's pick, okay. So I want to show everybody really quickly one particular file we're going to start off with. So you can see the file size, you can see the timestamp and everything on it. Currently this is a read-only file system that it's on, so it's not being affected by anything at all by Red Star OS. Now we're going to do one more thing, MD5. Something. I want everybody to pay attention really quickly. Once it brings it up, it's going to take a moment because calculating MD5 sum is a little slow. But everybody pay attention to that MD5 sum because this is going to be real important. This will be on the test. All right. So we copied the file to the movies folder on the user's home folder. So let me go over and you can see also too, video works, nothing changed. Nothing seems out of place, right? So nothing seems out of place with that, right? It looks like it works and everything. However, let's go back over to the terminal and you're going to see something very interesting. Now, do you see the MD5 sum? You see what happened, right? So, watch this. Okay. Sorry, give me 1 second because I got to remember my path that I got to go to. While I'm at it. So you see in red, you see the bottom file in red is the one that's residing in the home folder currently, and the one on the top is the one that's residing on the SD card. And you see the red hex marks, right? You see the red hex numbers? That is the watermark in action. That's what it does. So that file now is tainted by Red Star OS and it has a watermark containing information about this computer that it's running on. So if the government wants to see where this file came from, they can easily just trace that back to me. Look at me, I'm selling contraband, everybody. So here is the next part that we're going to do. Okay. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see this a little bit more. So, what I'm going to do now is, you see this whole entire script is going to be a drop-in replacement because all of the stuff does not have, like GCC and everything. But what this is going to do is that this script is going to turn all of that nasty stuff off. So, let me put in my super secret password. Okay, so we're going to reboot the system and we're going to wait for it to come back up. So while we're waiting for the system to come back up, just want to ask really quickly, how's everybody enjoying JawnCon so far? So big shout out to everybody who helped put this together too, because this is really great talk, and this is my first time being up here on stage at a con doing a talk like this. I've only ever done talks with local groups. This is my first con talk. Woo! All right, it is time for the super secret password. Password. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who has the same combination on their luggage? So now that we did this, now that we ran the script, we're going to go do something. Okay, so you saw I got rid of the file, right? CP. Okay. Now let's do this again. MD5 sum, right? Everybody sees it? Ah, what's this? Is this the same MD5 sum? Yes. So we have successfully diffused Red Star OS with a simple script written by Chaos Computer Club that basically turns off those nasty daemons and disables SC Linux, gets rid of all of that watermarking stuff in the background. So guess what? It's rid of all the contraband you want now. And as you can see, everything works perfectly now. Where is it? There. Oh, wrong file, wrong folder. This folder. Oh no, I'm spreading contraband. You better come and stop me, Kim Jong-un. All right, so that's one little part of the little thing that we're going to do. So let me see what else we got here. Oh, so this is also a Linux. This is a standard old Linux. Guess what's also under the hood? Take a couple of guesses. Anything? GCC and make are all in here. So check this out. Bit of an old version, but GCC is in there, 440. Make is in there, GNU Make, 3.80. What do we want to build on here? Do we want to try to build some software? Do you want to see what we can do with this? Yeah. Who wants to have a little fun? All right, let's have a little fun. Okay. Okay, while this is working, let's get a few things prepared. While that's working, let's do another thing really quickly. Neofetch! All right, this is going to be a little bit. So I'm going to have a couple of other things up my sleeve while this is working. Oh, so remember how I said that this has crosswind, which is just basically wine? What shall we put on here?
Does it run Doom?
Well, it's building Doom. Oh, what are the default wallpapers? Hold on a second, let's go see. Speaking of which, those wallpapers are kind of like, I don't know, they're nice, they're nature, you know, grasses, a galaxy. That looks a little familiar, that one. Yeah. Where did they pull that one from? Forest, some trees, more forest, fields of flowers and clouds and mountains and beautiful clouds and more mountains. Yeah, it's all nature themed. Nope, definitely not North Korea. Absolutely not North Korea. I think we need a couple of other pictures though, don't you? Oop, no. Nope. That wasn't it. Pictures. That's what I need. Vip. Voop. I think we need a better wallpaper. Pictures folder. There we go. There we go. Oh, there he is. Better wallpaper, don't you think? So how's our install going? Okay, sudo make install. Oh, I forgot. I have to do this because games. Oh, user local games. Are we ready? Yes. Come on. You know you want to do it. Come on, you know you want to do it. Ah! I don't know about anybody else, but I think I violated several international laws with North Korea. I'm running forbidden capitalist Western games on their platform. Yeah. Why not? Recreational game in North Korea. A nice healthy game of Doom. Oh, also, caveat on this one, a lot of the buttons on Chocolate Doom, they don't work. I can do certain actions, but certain other ones do not work. And as you can see, like I can't seem to open doors or nothing like that. I can't even press Control Y to quit. So I gotta do this. But it works, for the most part. But yeah, now you saw Doom running on Red Star OS. I got it to run Doom. There's a couple of other things I can also show off on here too. I wanted to show the firewall rule very quickly because normally, going out on the internet, you can see, of course, nothing is going on. It's not gonna load the site, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that Red Star Tools folder. Or actually I have it here. Okay, so I'm going to show off this script very quickly. So what this script is going to do, as you can see, it's going to get rid of the IP tables that are installed by default because the IP tables are where all the things that prevent us from going out onto the greater internet reside. It's just basically firewall rules. That's all they did. You can flush them out, and the minute you flush these things out, you can go online with this. So let's do this. And there you go. Now I can go and watch this. Now I can go online and let's try. Let's see if it works. Oh, the page was reset. Okay, it doesn't quite work. Not yet. Do I have to do a restart? Or is my network up? Network says it's inactive. I think we're gonna probably have a problem with this one. For some reason, the Ethernet is inactive, it says, even though I seem to have a connection. Curse you, Kim Jong-un. What have you done? Can I even do a ping? Network is unreachable. Yeah, I don't have an address. What was that? DH quiet. Do I have to run a sudo?
Yes. Sudo.
DH quiet.
CLI.
Oh, DHC.
Yeah, CLI. All right, I'll see if that all Nope, you don't got that.
Nope, I don't have DHCLI.
Oh, it'll still be DH client.
Oh, DH client. Sudo DH client. Let's see.
Now do config. Again. Yep, you're up.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for helping me out with that real quick. All right. So of course it's not going to load that site, but problem loading page. Thank you. The days that you want something to load, it doesn't want to load.
You can try, I can give you an IP address to make sure it's not DNS.
No, that one works. Hi, Nine Front. Yeah, I don't think that it actually does like HTTPS because, like I said, this is Firefox 3.6. That is quite old.
Then if it's just HTTP, you can go to ox1.JawnCon0X1.org.
Let's try that then. 0x1.JawnCon.org. Hey! Look at us, we're visiting decadent Western browsers on Red Star OS. Oh no! He's going to be so mad at us. Yeah, it works. It works now. Let's go over here really quickly and we're going to do a ping. Just to make sure. Yep, they're okay. Ping is working. But how about that? It's like, now this is actually a usable to a small point system. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do the packet capturing because I don't want to do like set up a Wireshark right now and get it to capture packets. But I am going to speak about something interesting that I did find. The last time I did this talk back in April, I had somebody watching Wireshark for me and we were doing packet capturing while I was browsing the web with Red Star OS. And we did notice something extremely interesting about what it does, specifically what Nenada is doing. So it looks like what North Korea has done, or whoever reprogrammed this for Red Star OS, is they added a little something into Firefox that seems to ping, like it seems to take notice of like every IP address that you visit. Either you put in like via DNS or you put in the IP address, but what it does is that it sends out a ping alongside the get command. So it does the get, and then it does a ping, and it's pinging a North Korean IP address. And what I guess it's doing is it's sending back home information about the site you're visiting. So it's sending like the IP address of the site or the DNS of the site. But it's a really interesting thing to see. Like they're really monitoring everything that you're trying to do with their browser and with their software. And the fun part about this is that only Nenada does this. I've tried regular Firefox on this and it does not repeat the same behavior at all. I've also tried links in the console and does not do the same thing. It's specifically this one has something baked into it that just pings home and says you're visiting this address or this address or this address or this address, and it's just sending all of that home. And it only does that when you type in an address in the address bar and go and hit enter. Otherwise, you know, it's more or less the same as Firefox, so everything that's compatible with Firefox at the time works on here as well. So there's one last I want to show off before we go back over to the slides. And we have to run this because it's just absolutely hilarious. But Here is a Windows executable of Flash Player 32. It should launch. It should launch. Did this install Crosswind? I thought I installed Crosswind. Oh, install. Everything is already set up on here. So what's going on? Not at the end of the thing, please. I wanted to show this off. Yeah, it's not working. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Red Star. I wanted to show something off that was absolutely hilarious, and I don't know if I can do it right now. Or can I have? Oh. Let me see if I can do it like this. Wine broke. Wine broke. I spilled the wine. Well, all right. If I could get it working again, I'll probably show it off later on, or I'll show it off on YouTube or something later on. I wanted to show off #1 racing game North Korea 2012. But I guess, we'll do it another time, I guess. So let's go back over to the slides again. Because I got a couple of more slides to show off. All right, can we switch back over to slides real quick? Oh, hello. Slides, please. Slide machine. Thank you. All right, there we go. So let's do a couple quick bonus slides while I got this still up and running, because I do want to wrap up in a little bit, because I want to give time for the next talk to come up. I also want to do a quick Q&A if anybody has any. So this little bonus I got here, this is a map of the North Korean intranet. It was posted on DPRK360 Facebook page. I found it while I was searching for information online, and I just grabbed it because it was like an interesting little thing about how North Korean intranet works and how they do IP addresses and everything else. So their sites, all of their websites are not accessed by DNS by default. You only access them via their IPv4 address. So instead of typing in any kind of top-level domain or whatever, or any kind of DNS resolve, you have to type in the site's IP address, and that's how they do it. Excuse me. But it's kind of weird, because also too, like if you think about it, the way that the North Korean intranet is set up, it's a limited number of websites, it's a limited number of resources, and it seems like to them, it's not really worth having to do DNS resolve for a small handful of sites. It's just easier to remember an IP address. And these would be maps that they would put up in like universities, classrooms, or libraries, or things like that, where you can just see like all the addresses that are available and all the websites that are available. And it's basically, these are the sites you get and nothing much else. So resources that I cited and sites I looked at, of course, Red Star OS, Lifting the Fog on Red Star OS by the Chaos Computer Club's original talk was a big inspiration for this talk. The tools that I demonstrated were Red Star tools, which you can find on GitHub, and they were written by a couple of CCC members. I found a couple of blogs like Richard G's Ramblings, where he wrote some notes on Red Star, and you can see the URL up there if you want to look up some more information about Red Star. There is an InfoWorld article called "Is it safe to install North Korean Linux?" which you can read as well. Provided a little bit of insight about what goes on when you install it and everything that it does under the hood. The watermarkings came from insinuator.net, and that was a really cool article that just showed like all the stuff that goes on with watermarking and what makes it up. So where do we go from here? So we got to keep on digging. Like, let's keep digging into Red Star OS, and let's see how much more we can modify it and crack it and do every kind of cursed thing with it. Like, can you get it running on weird esoteric x86 hardware? Like, one I would love to try to do is an Apple TV first generation, which is x86 based. Imagine that running this. That would be hilarious. I would like to also pick apart one of the watermarks and decrypt it and see exactly what it does contain, because a lot of the information that I provided was, of course, from CCC. There are some other things too, is find Redstar OS 4.0. It's out there. Somebody has to have a copy of it. Somebody has to have it somewhere. I would love to play around with it and see what it does. There are other esoteric Linux distros from around the world that would be also fun to pull apart. There's the ones from Russia, Cuba, the ones from China. Those would be fun to play with and see what they do. And of course, share this online. Put it on videos, blogs, papers, talks, the works. And like I said, information wants to be free, and we have to be the data runners and the net runners in the cyberpunk dystopia to bring that information out and share it with the world. This is stuff that should not just be held by one person. Let everybody share it. Let everybody learn it. So I want to give a few shout outs really quickly to my crews at DC212 and NYC 2600 and Nice Lug, everybody at Fat Cat, Hack Manhattan, and NYC Resistor, my local spaces, they're all awesome. I want to thank the JawnCon crew for letting me speak and accepting my paper. This was a huge honor, and it was a huge thing for me. Like I said, this is my first con talk. I'm this is something totally brand new for me, and I'm enjoying it. I want to thank everybody that came out today, and I want to thank, of course, Hackerstown and Cortex Implant, because I know a few of their members are watching today. Yo, what's up? Again, Chaos Computer Club for walking so that we can all run. And I want to thank everybody out there who fights against injustice and crime, and corruption every day of your lives for doing what you do. So if you want to find me online, I'm on Mastodon at Hackerstown, hackers.town/LambdaCalculus. I'm on Blue Sky also, Blue Sky, lambdacalculus.bsky.social. I do have a GitHub. I'm going to post these slides on that GitHub soon. I have a YouTube channel, and I put another couple of Red Star things up there as well. I put the rough cut of my talk from April where I did this for DC212 up there, and I have a few other cool little things I shared. I do have a LinkedIn if anybody wants to connect with me or offer me work. I am looking for work. If you need a Linux sysadmin that has some esoteric knowledge, hit me up. I have resumes and I'll give them to you. If you want to support me financially, I have a Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/LambdaCalculus if you want to throw a few bucks my way to help me out, because it's a tough economy and I really need some work. Anyway, that's all. Thank you, JawnCon. Hack the planet! Let me get a hack the planet. All right, enjoy the rest of JawnCon. See everybody around. Oh yeah, quick questions. I got 5 minutes for questions. What's up?
When it watermarks the file, does it change the timestamp?
It does change the timestamp when it watermarks the file, and I actually should have shown that. Thank you for pointing that out. You could see the MD5 sum is added, and yeah, it is timestamped. It does get modified, and you can actually see what happens. You could tell a mile away that this is happening. Any other questions? Way in the back. You want to come up?
Can you hear me from here?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, is the watermarking of the file a fixed length every time? And if so, if you delete 1 byte from it, does it break the entire watermarking system?
It is a 31-byte file, 31-byte watermark every single time in a DES-like algorithm. And I have not actually tried to take 1 or 2 bytes off to see what would happen, but I would imagine, yeah, it would break the watermarking and it would break the data that's inside of it. So that's probably a quick way of, breaking their armor. They try to put on armor and put on a weapon and be like, we're gonna get you for this. And he'd be like, nope. And you just find that one kink in their armor and just go pop, and it goes. Any other questions?
When you were surfing, was it pinging back to North Korea?
It was pinging back to North Korea, but the thing is that those pings are going to fail because the intranet does not allow outside traffic by default, and it only allows outside traffic on an extreme need basis, and that's an extremely tightly controlled thing. So the most outside would probably be maybe a university for a couple of research purposes, and maybe the government. But civilians, doesn't happen. No outside, no inside. Standard TCP. Anybody else? Shiny hat.
Do you have a copy of that Wireshark capture?
I do have a copy of that Wireshark capture, and I think I did put it up on my GitHub. I'm going to double check, and if it's not up there, I'm going to upload it.
Sweet, thanks.
Yep. Anybody else?
Is there any other telemetry you're aware of beyond the sniffing the browser?
There's not really like way too much else that I know of. I only tested with the browser. I have not really tested like way too much else, but from like research that I've seen, there doesn't seem to be a lot of other telemetry going on. The only thing I could probably imagine is maybe like if you have a network share going on, because this does support network sharing. My guess, and like I said, this is a guess, is that it's probably going to ping back some kind of central server on a net, like if you're playing with a network share, saying like what files are you accessing and what are you doing, like where are you copying them to. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be sniffing that traffic. That would actually be an interesting one to take a look at too. Yep. Anyone else? Yes.
What inspired you to make your username Bloodsack?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
What inspired you to make your username Bloodsack?
Oh, because, I don't know, I was just feeling very mischievous. Yeah, reasons. Because this whole entire operating system is just a big butt sack. Any other questions? Yes?
Do we have any reason to believe the GCC that's bundled is doing something funny with the
That's actually an interesting, so his question was, do we have any reason to believe the GCC is probably doing anything funny with the files that it compiles? That is actually a really interesting point, and that's something I'm actually going to play with a little bit more and see what it's doing. The other time that I did play with this is I did replace the GCC that was in there because it was so old. I replaced it with a newer one. And I haven't really seen, like, the newer one, of course, doesn't do anything, but the version that's in here, yeah, I'm going to see what it's doing to the files to see if it's marking them with anything weird, custom, or anything like that. So that's another good one I'm going to take a look at. One more. Anybody got one more question? Who wants to do the last question? Going once, going twice? Oh, there you go.
Where can we get an ISO of this to play around with ourselves?
So the question was, where can we get an ISO of this to play around with ourselves? This was, believe it or not, this is just on the Internet Archive. This is straight off the Internet Archive. You could just search Red Star OS 3.0 on the Internet Archive, and there's a hit for it. There's like several pages for it. You could just grab an ISO. The only thing is, like, people were all asking, like, is this like hidden in the deep dark corners of the Internet? And I would love the real story to be like, yes, I had to troll through the dark web. I had to go through the most forbidden of websites. I had to go through how many Tor exit nodes just to get a copy. The hilarious part about this is an extremely cursed artifact sitting in an art museum in broad daylight in a very open room, all nice and sunny, and the whole public can see the whole entire thing, but they do not want to acknowledge it. They just don't even look at it. They don't even acknowledge its existence. We're the weirdos that acknowledge its existence. Yep. All right. So enjoy the rest of JawnCon, and I'll be around if anybody has any questions. And I also have stickers if anybody wants some. All right.